Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to have this moment. Mr. Mayor, councilpersons, citizens of Caplinville, some of you may have noticed an increase in placarded trucking traffic on the west side of our community, near the railroad tracks. This is due to the Canadian National Railroad offloading ethanol fuel from train tank cars on the spur track to tractor trailers on a concrete pad for distribution in our county's gas stations and the holding reserve located 30 miles from here. That is inaccessible by rail. Yes, this raises a heightened sense of awareness. However, as the Emergency Response Organization Administrator, I can assure you measures are being taken to ensure your safety and protection from this hazard. We are working on several different areas pertaining to this particular offloading site, including, however not limited to, collaborating in all hazards emergency response safety training regimen for our personnel, as well as the neighboring mutual aid agencies, with Seneca, the third-party railroad hazardous materials cleanup company, the Canadian National Railroad, and the State of Drop Tones, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. We will draft, print, and distribute educational programs for the community pertaining to the community's response if an incident were to occur. We are also working with a local engineering firm to design a spill containment system with an audible emergency alert system in case of an incident. We will be conducting periodic safety inspections in accordance with the National Fire Protection Association standards, specifically the 2015 edition of NFPA 1, the Fire Code, the 2016 edition of NFPA 72, the National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code, the 2014 edition of NFPA 77, Recommended Practices on Static Electricity, and the 2012 edition of NFPA 385, Standard for Tank Vehicles for Flammables and Combustible Liquids, just to name a few. We will also be addressing our annual budget to account for the necessary aforementioned items. We will revisit and evaluate our progress on a month-to-month basis. Standard operating guides and emergency response guides will be implemented for all surrounding first responder agencies. The transloading depot is a compact concrete pad located next to the spur of the Canadian National main line that runs between Canada and New Orleans, cited from Canadian National 2016. The concrete pad is completely fenced in with an unarmed security guard at the gate, logging semi-traffic in and out. There are 4 cart-style CO2 pressurized dry chemical fire extinguishers on site. Currently, there are 2 55-gallon drums of petroleum absorbent material on site, one at the depot office and one near the connection site. Temporarily, quick connect rubber hoses are laid out to transfer fuel from rail cars to tractor trailer tankers. Currently, it is the responsibility of the railway personnel to make the hose connections on the rail cars, and the truck driver's responsibility to make sure the connections are correct on their trailers. We are working with both entities to engineer a permanent infrastructure that will reduce the possibilities of an accidental static spark ignition. The possible hazards that we may encounter as a community are spills, derailments, motor vehicle accidents on the adjacent roadway from increased trucking traffic. In the worst case scenario, an electric spark created from static electricity generated as the ethanol is passing through the attached rubber hoses, igniting the transferring fuel, possibly resulting in a blevy. A blevy is a catastrophic container failure into 2 or more substantial pieces caused by a pressure increase of boiling liquid resulting in an explosion if the contents are flammable, like ethanol, cited from Peterson 2002. Out of all of those negative issues that could potentially arise, accidental spills are the most likely to occur. Canadian National Rail officials have indicated to us safety is their #1 priority, and the railroad has, quote-unquote, a particularly good record for transporting the chemicals and petroleum products, cited from RAC 2011. The the rail cars handling ethanol go through rigorous inspections prior to departures and arrivals in congested areas. Properly associated documentation is provided by the train engineer or conductor at the time the rail cars arrive at the train's loading depot. The paperwork is maintained and filed in the depot office, periodically scanned, and electronically stored in off-site servers. If an incident were to occur, the Canadian National Railroad would immediately be notified, and their own special response team would work quickly to mitigate any damages. Cited from RAC 2011. The trucking companies are regulated by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and the Department of Transportation. These tractor-trailer combinations are inspected for safety at their regular maintenance intervals with complete bumper-to-bumper and top-to-bottom inspections annually. The drivers must obtain a specialized commercial driver's license to legally operate the tractor-trailers. Those licenses must be renewed every 4 years, which keeps the driver's knowledge of regulations up to date. As far as the fire department annual budget is concerned, there are 5 items that need to be added in an effort to improve response. Those 5 items include purchasing 4 proximity fire suppression suits, ethanol hazmat specific training materials and classes, alcohol resistant foam, the public warning system, and public educational materials. In conclusion, one should be able to see we have a new hazard in our community that needs some attention to details. As the emergency response organization, we have the responsibility to educate not only our first responders, but the community as well. We are engineering safer operations to avoid certain scenarios from occurring. We are evaluating and modifying our budget to accommodate this new hazard without incurring any additional budgetary requests. And if there is any further questions, please feel free to address me following the meeting. Thank you for your time and cooperation through this progressively evolutionary adventure.